Okay, I think we are good stream wise, and now the recording has started, and we are back with another stream episode, whatever you want to call it, of CurleeFriee through the years. And this instance is gonna be of second grade. So second grade. Realistically, I don't remember much about second grade. Not much really happened. I think the only big thing that happened was we got a new student to our class, and her name was Emily. And Not much else really changed. To be fair, my elementary school teacher, my second grade teacher was named Miss Mackenzie. Mrs. Mackenzie, regardless. But she was a blonde white woman, and she was a fine teacher. Um, and yeah, second grade is kind of a blur. I guess of my years, second is the least memorable. Um, yeah, I would definitely say second grade is the least memorable of my time at this school. Um, and the thing that I remember is, again, this I don't really remember if this took place in second grade, but I started doing Chinese school again. Um, and I went to this Chinese school wasn't that was it run out of a church? Regardless, it was a school that didn't really have religious affiliation. Maybe its location was, or maybe it's run out of a school. But regardless, um, I did that, and I met some closer friends named Peter, Sharon, and Shelly. And the three of them, they came from families that spoke Chinese at home. Like their parents would speak Chinese and Mandarin to them at home. Not the case for me, you know. I don't know if I went over this, but my grandmother and my grandfather on my mom's side knew so many languages. At least in my perspective, they're not like polyglots, is that what they're called? But they knew Vietnamese, they knew Thai, they knew Cambodian, they knew Chinese. Not like high level scholarly level, but they were fluent in it, and they knew it. But then that all kind of went away when it came to my mom's generation. Her sister and her brother didn't didn't really retain any other language. They were English only. So it kind of got lost in that generation, which sucks if we're being totally honest, because I think knowing languages is so cool and interesting, and I would have loved to have had that been a greater part of my life. But it wasn't. And there's not much I can really do about that. Um, but that's the case. So I went to Chinese school, and the thing is, in Chinese school is that you go there and it's like 4 hours on a single day, right? And that's all well and great. You can spend 4 hours, grinding at this Chinese school, and you wait for the break time so you can eat or play Pokemon on your Game Boy Advance, that type of life. But when it came to retaining this information, you're not really going to retain stuff that you're only looking at 4 hours a day, and then whatever little homework they give you. At least that's not how my brain works. I need more consistent exposure to it, because I'm not a huge studier, I guess. So for me, it was I just felt kind of wasted. It felt wasted because at the end of it all, I still don't speak Chinese. I barely know, any Chinese. But, I spent so much time, and my mom spent so much money trying to teach me Chinese, even though it never stuck. It didn't last. And that was just how it went. So it's really a shame in that point. But I made good friends. Did I really interact with them a lot? Not really, because I think we started Peter, Sharon, and Shelly and I, we started in the same class, but they moved on while they moved on at a faster pace, or I didn't even move on. Regardless, I didn't grow at the same rate as them because I didn't get the same amount of practice as them. So our interaction became, I only saw them during, the recess, where the different levels of the class were could interact, um, and then we did that. But I interacted with them less. I don't think I really spent much time with them outside of Chinese school. Like, I don't think we really hung out um, at the Chinese school, outside of Chinese school, and hang out on the weekends or something like that. And that's just how it went. If we're being honest. But that's how that went. And the other thing was, at this Chinese school, they would make you do performances when they do like a thing. And then obviously you could choose, like, I honestly don't remember the options are, but I chose like Kung Fu, because, I'm a boy, I'm a kid. I like Kung Fu, cool. But we did Kung Fu. And that reminds me, I'm pretty sure this was even before second grade, but I did Taekwondo at one point with the whole belt system and stuff. And I was white belt as a little kid, and you move up in belt and you go to yellow. But the thing was, you had to pay to go up in level, and my mom didn't want to pay money for me to be a yellow belt, because she didn't see the point. Because regardless, I'm just a kid. I'm just trying to do it for fun. So why should I spend money for the lessons and then also for the belt? The belt was like $5. It wasn't expensive, I think. But she just didn't like it on principle. And because I didn't move up, we just stopped doing Taekwondo. So that's my little story on Taekwondo. I did it very shortly. I was a white belt. And then it was like, come time, I made it yellow belt. And then it was like, you have to pay to go higher than that. And then we didn't do that. So who knows? Maybe I could have been a completely different person if I stuck with Taekwondo, and I might not be a sad gamer, or however they want to call it. But yeah, that's my time with Taekwondo, and it was reminded me by doing Kung Fu, and we would do like these performances of Kung Fu, and it was fine. We did our Kung Fu performances. I think we looked pretty dumb, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure my mom has videos of me doing it, and I probably look really dumb. But we did it, sure. It was more like a visual thing than a, feasible thing. But that's fine. We did our performances, school happy, we happy. And that's my experience with Taekwondo. What other stuff I do remember is, I'm pretty sure hockey was around this time, but pretty much there's like this ice rink in like Anaheim, like downtown Anaheim, like that's run by the Mighty Ducks, which is like their hockey team or whatever. And I would go there and I would skate, and it would be fun. And I think I did this in kindergarten, because the thing is, I remember going there to skate, but Bailey also went there to skate. So I would be like, oh, it's Bailey, oh my gosh. And I get excited to see the girl I have a crush on at the same ice rink. And we would, I don't know if we skated together, but I skated there. They like dressed us up in all these pads, but I don't remember a single time playing a hockey match. Like, I remember dressing up and wearing all these pads and having the stick, but I don't remember ever playing in a match and trying to go against other people to play hockey. I don't know why, but that's just a memory to recall. But I just remember skating and doing that, and I really enjoyed it. I liked ice skating. It was a fun thing. Nowadays, can't ice skate, can't rollerblade. I've lost all those skills, and it's really awkward and sad. But what happens. And that was my time with hockey. What other things I can remember? I did baseball too, but I think baseball was later. I think baseball was more of a third grade thing. so I'll save baseball for then. But yeah, I did hockey. Um, I did taekwondo. I did the kung fu with the Chinese school. Um, and what else happened in second grade? Okay, so yet again, I don't know if this was second grade. Um, but I remember my mom and I got a season pass to Knott's Berry Farm. You know, because Knott's Berry Farm is way cheaper than Disneyland, and we would go there similarly pretty much every weekend. I feel like we didn't go as often because it was cheaper, but we went very often. And then there was a girl that had a crush on me. Her name was Harena. Harena. Oh gosh, I don't remember. Um, but her name was Harena or whatever. And our moms were talking, and my mom was like, "Oh yeah, we have a season pass to Knott's Berry Farm." And the mom, who knows her daughter has a crush on me, is like, "Oh yeah, we also have a season pass. We should go together." And my mom, being my mom, was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. That sounds like a lot of fun." Um, and then we go and get there, and they're buying tickets. They didn't actually have a season pass. They just wanted to go, and we spent time together, and it was fun. I enjoyed my time with there. It was just, later on it was just like, oh, the mom really wanted to make a play date with me and her daughter, because she knew she had a crush on me. So they said they had a season pass, so they didn't have a season pass, and they just bought tickets, and we went together, and it was nice. No problems there. Good times. That girl turned into like a performer of sorts. So very, very talented, very skilled. So good for her. Um, but that was the time we went to Knott's Berry Farm, and that was fun. But yeah, being in SoCal, you have access to so many like theme parks. You had Legoland, you have Disneyland, you have Knott's Berry Farm, you have Six Flags, you have Universal. Like you have so much access to this stuff, and I'm glad I feel like I took good value out of it. And I got to enjoy that stuff. What else is there? So the other thing I remember is that the San Diego Zoo, which I guess is like a big name zoo, they would do this thing in October where you could go for free, or like kids are free or something. So my mom would always make an event or an outing where we would go to San Diego, and we would go to the zoo, and it was crowded, and I love being a zoo. I love being a zoo so much that we bought a Halloween costume, or I dressed up as like a park ranger, or like I don't know what the term is, but the person who handles the animals. I dressed up, and I had these cool aviator shades that I wore on Halloween, because the school had a day where you could dress up, and you would walk around, and everyone can take videos of everyone dressing up. So one of the times I dressed up as a park ranger. What is it? A zoologist? No, I have no idea. But I dressed up as that, and there were photos of that, and that was cute. Other times I dressed up as Power Rangers. I remember dressing up as the black not Dino Ranger. Black Dino Ranger, the guy played by Tommy. Other time I dressed up as a red Power Ranger, because red was and still is my favorite color. So those are the things I dressed up on. As I got later in life, I lost the joy of dressing up for Halloween, and I started to just dress up as a public school kid, as I like to describe, where I just didn't wear a uniform that day. And realistically, looking back on it, I should have dressed up. 1, 2, I don't know why I cared so much about not wearing about not wearing my uniform, because I'm not a fashion person. I had no problems wearing the uniform. I don't know why I had such an issue with it. But I did. And that's my experience with Halloween. I don't remember much about what other things I did in terms of, what am I even doing? Okay. What other Halloween costumes I did? I just remember the Power Ranger ones and the park one. But yeah, I enjoyed my time at the San Diego Zoo. I remember going to San Diego Zoo, and obviously there were Marriott's there, so we stayed at Marriott's using my grandmother's rate. And then there's like a little island outside of San Diego called Balboa Island. Is it Balboa Island? Or no, is that a different island? Coronado? Coronado? Is it Coronado? Regardless, there's like a little island off of San Diego. Is it Coronado? Gosh. Because Catalina's the one you take the boat to, and Coronado's the one you're there. So yeah, I think it's Coronado. Where you can drive along this really long bridge and you go over the water and you go to Coronado and there's a Marriott there. And then I remember going there, and to me, for some reason, I always loved hotel breakfasts. I just love them. But my mom was like, they're a waste of money, they're expensive. So when I was like a little kid, like honestly, less than 10 years old for sure, she just gave me money to go to the breakfast buffet and eat there by myself. So it was only me that had to pay. And obviously I'm a kid, so I pay a lower rate. So I'm just eating there by myself, eating a buffet. Probably all the adults are like, why is this kid just by himself at this restaurant eating on his own, But I did. And I had waffles, and I had lots of good stuff, and it was awesome. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed having the delicious Marriott buffet. I also even took stuff in a box. I I guess I was just a dumb kid that was like, oh, I wanted to take some of this buffet back with me. Um, and then I gave it to my mom because I'm a thoughtful kid. But I remember going to Coronado and doing that. And that was fun. And when we did that, and that was a good time. We would walk around. My mom is a big walker, so we would do a lot of walking, and that picks up even more when we get into 5th grade and beyond. But she likes walking. She likes staying fit because my grandmother did not stay fit. She ate bad and she didn't work out, so she got chunky. Then it caused health problems down the line, yada yada yada. And my mom and my aunt, seeing what seems to run in our family, were like big on health, big on exercising. My mom pretty much would wake up at 5 in the morning every day and then run on the treadmill that we had in the living room of our house. And I'm a deep sleeper. And maybe I became a deep sleeper because I had to just get used to the sound of the treadmill where it's like, and you had to get used to the sound of, and of her running, to the point where I was a deep sleeper and I could sleep through it. But there were times I would wake up early and then I would see her running. And it'd be like pitch black. She doesn't turn much lights on because she's just running. But that is the idea behind that, and I was a deep sleeper. What else? That was like some weird tangent about working out and exercising and walking a lot in San Diego. As for another story in San Diego, I remember we went, me, my mom, my aunt, and my grandma to San Diego, and we stayed at a hotel. And my aunt didn't want to sleep with her mom, so my grandma. So I slept with my grandma, and the two sisters slept together. And my mom tells me my aunt was like, oh my gosh, grandma's snoring is so loud. And my mom was like, that's not grandma, that's Justin. And she's like, how does this little kid snore so loud? And that's the story of how I snore loud, and I still snore a lot. And I try and work on that and not snore as much to not bother my girlfriend. But it's it's not the most successful of missions. But that's the story about my snoring. And then the other thing for San Diego is one time we went to San Diego, and I don't know what happened at night, but I was so itchy and in pain, and my whole body was red. I don't know what happened. Like, I had some sort of allergic reaction to something, but we had to drive home because it was just like they had no idea what was going on. I'm just like completely like immobilized, um to the point where like I can't do anything. Like, I don't know what was going on with me. But I just remember that night so clearly that I couldn't um I couldn't do anything. Like, I was just completely frozen and in pain and itchy, and it sucked. So we drove home early one night to do that, to get home and to recover. And I still don't really know why it all happened. Like, I still don't know why it happened and why I went through that, if I'm being honest. um but it did happen. um and that's just a memory I have. It was really scary in the moment. um Scary moments. Another thing is when I was a kid, my whatchamacallit, how do I explain this? I was a kid in shorts, and my grandma was looking at me and all the kids, and she started freaking out. This is according to my mom. I don't remember this. She started freaking out and pointing out the fact that my legs were different than all the other kids. And my mom was like, "Oh my gosh, you're right. There is something wrong." And I found out pretty much that I have like a mild case of knocked knees, which is where your legs bend inward, so your knees are like touching each other rather than like being straight, so it doesn't they don't rub against each other. So I had a slight case. It's not as bad as like cases you might see online. Like, I perfectly normal. Like, no one looking at me would notice that. But I remember my mom talking about that story. What other stories do I have, really? Now we're kind of just in general storyland. The other stories I remember is when we would go to Hawaii. And the thing about Hawaii is there are these two Marriotts on Oahu, which are like not next to each other. There's like one hotel in between them, which is now the Disneyland Hotel. And I haven't been since they made it the Disneyland, but that's something to know. But there's these two hotels. And the thing is, when you work for Marriott for 25 years, a quarter century, you get this privilege. And this is literally one of the most amazing privileges I've seen about like rewarding loyalty to a company. It was the fact that every year, so this resets every year, you can stay at every single Marriott for 3 days for free. And you have to bring that person. So I had to bring my grandmother. But literally 3 days every year at any of these locations. Obviously, there are some like rules where it can't be like peak season or something like that. And like for some places you could only do on the weekends, some places you can only do on the weekdays. But the thing about Hawaii was one of them was a weekday and one of them was a weekend. So you could string them together to pretty much give you 6 free nights. So 7 days, 6 nights for free at these hotels every year. So we went to Hawaii very often, because it is such a huge it's such a huge benefit. Like, there's no doubt about it. It's probably one of the best benefits I've ever heard of when it comes to rewarding. But yeah, it was that awesome. So we would stay at one place for 3 nights, and then we would stay at the other place for 3 nights, and we get almost a week there. and it was a nice Hawaii hotel, so it was awesome. Um, and we just got to stay there, and it was great. And that was our time in Hawaii, and I remember going to Hawaii so often because we got so much out of it. Like, it's so much value. Like, why wouldn't you go to Hawaii if you can go for free? And I feel like it's the one thing where I was like, I wish my grandmother took advantage of this when she retired. Like, if she stayed healthy, she could have like traveled the world and just stayed at places for free and just used um she could just use her credits, and then you know all she had to worry about is all she would have to worry about is getting places. Oh gosh, hiccups. But yeah, I don't know. It was just sad to see that such had a great benefit was lost, and not used to its fullest potential when it could have been like amazing. But she made her choices, and we always joke around like, who wants to become my grandma and pretend like they're her, so they can get the free places. But I just have so many fond memories at Marriott's, that Marriott is like, if I could choose any hotel, I would choose Marriott, because I just have so many memories. Obviously, it depends on it. Like, I'm not going to just choose a more expensive hotel because it's the Marriott, But if it was like between two places and they had the same prices, I would choose Marriott because of that sentimental value, connection to my grandmother, stuff like that. But yeah, we went to Hawaii. We went to lots of places. What else is there? Let's see. Let's see. We're still supposed to be in like second grade, and like I said, second grade was kind of just a blur. Like, not much really happened. I can talk about our computer lab. So I think this was I don't know if this was normal in like public schools. I doubt it, but our school had a computer lab that was pretty much like, the way you get to it was like, there was this road that led to the north side basketball courts, and that's how all the motorcycles for the chalk toy drive would come in. But along that like service road or whatever, were like doors, and some of those doors would be to a classroom, and one of it was to our computer class. And our computer class basically just helped us learn to type, memorize the keys so you don't have to look down to type, and all the other like basic skills. Like, we learned how to use Word, we learned how to use PowerPoint, and it was a lot of fun. And then it was like we would try and build up our typing speed, as much as possible, and then we could look at the keys. But then we would do like a test on our teacher's computer, where she would cover the keys so you couldn't see and you have to type it from memory. And I remember there were people like in elementary school that were typing so fast compared to like adults nowadays. Like, they picked it up so fast. And I think I'm a good typer. Like, I'm getting like 90 or whatever, but I'm like, by the end of elementary school, people were pushing into hundreds as an elementary schooler typing. Like, it was crazy to me that people were so good at typing. And it was cool. I mean, maybe these kids had computers at home. I didn't really have a computer at home. I know my grandpa had like a really old school desktop at home. And I remember it was those screens where they were affected by magnets. And I may have accidentally put a magnet, specifically the magnet where like you get two of them and you would put it together. And when they would like come close together, they would like vibrate and would make the sound of like the bug, the cicadas. And I put it against the screen, and I would watch it go staticky, and I pull static and pull it out. And then I put it too close one time, and then it kind of stayed staticky, and I kind of messed up that monitor. Not like terribly, but it was kind of messed up. I'm not going to lie. But Yeah, I love computer class. I love typing because they had like games and stuff where you would learn to type. Um, but that was the typing class, and it was like such a weird location to get to. You had to like pretty much go onto like a back alley road for the school in order to get there. But it was great, and it was very air conditioned. I distinctly remember it was so air conditioned, and it was nice because you know all the computers, you got to keep it air conditioned to keep it cool. But it was fun. I enjoyed computer lab. I don't know when that really started, but yeah. So what else about second grade? I don't really remember much else about second grade. It kind of was less about second grade and more about like miscellaneous um, things in my elementary school. Um, and I don't remember. Talking about Chinese school, baseball was later, and then basketball was even later than that. Um, Things with my dad. I don't think like we would do trips with my dad to places, but I don't think ones were that young. Um, because the ones that come to mind are we went to Washington D.C. because he was working in Washington D.C. We went to just like the East Coast because I was born in the East Coast. He's from the East Coast. His family's in the East Coast. We did like the Southeast, so like Florida, um, and like Georgia and Carolinas and stuff. Um, and what else? What else did we do? Um, Georgia, Carolina. We did an RV trip, but I know that was later because that was like middle school time. Um, what else was there? And we did a Florida trip, like a specific Florida trip. And I remember this Florida trip because we wanted to go to like Universal and Disney World. It was like that type of trip. And I remember it was so stormy. The thunder was so loud. The rain was coming down so hard. And I was so scared. Like, you know, I'm in SoCal. I don't really get much weather, especially not lightning and stuff. But it was like pouring so hard and lightning so hard. I was scared out of my mind. It was crazy. Um, and that's what I remember from that trip. I don't really remember Disneyland or Disney World or stuff like that. I just remember that lightning and that thunder so much. And that's what I remember. So the thing I also remember was that when we were in Florida, we went to like this this crocodile thing where you could feed them. And I remember feeding them hot dogs, and I was like, I like hot dogs. They're eating hot dogs. They're like our brother kin, you know. We both eat hot dogs. It was a great time. Um, and I remember that about um our time in Florida. I don't really remember much about Disney World or Universal Studios, or Orlando. It's mainly about the crocodiles and the lightning and thunder. But that was one of the trips. And like I've always said, my dad, always there for my wants. He still gave me like great memories, taking me to places that fit more with what he was capable of. Because similar to my grandma, he's not much of a walker. Like he exercised, but it was more like weights. It wasn't like cardio. So it was like a different style to the exercise he did, because he's a strong dude, you know. He was doing like manual labor and stuff and construction, so he was strong. So I respect that. um and what else is there? What else is there really? Bum bada bum bum bum. Yeah, I remember that Orlando trip. I know DC was like a little later, and I know East Coast was later than that, and I know road trip was later than that. So I think the only one that really fits within like second grade time period is that Florida trip. And again, he kept taking me to Legoland and stuff and enjoying his time. And then he moved from Buena Park to like Anaheim Hills. And I remember visiting there, and we would eat this place called Wood Ranch because they had these delicious garlic rolls. I loved I loved it. Like their garlic bread was so buttery and garlicky, and we would get like baby back ribs, and oh, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I guess we're talking about food now. The other place that he liked to go to was this place called Aroma that did this veal parm that he really liked, because I guess it's not as common for veal parm. It's mainly like chicken parm. So this veal parm, so my dad liked to go there, and they had good bread too. I'm a bread person. I've talked about this, but I'm a huge bread person. So the places that had good bread are very memorable to me. They would like give you this bread, and they would give you this spread, and the spread was like this tomatoey, cheesy sauce. Oh, so good. I loved it. And the thing with the veal parm, it was veal parm, and when it come with this like tri-colored pasta, it was like green, yellow, red pasta with like a pink sauce. So it's like a mix between Alfredo and tomato, and I loved it. It's called like Fusilli Aurora or something. But the funniest thing was my dad hates vegetables. He honestly does so bad with vegetables, to the point where the green pieces of pasta, he would put them aside and give them to me and my mom, because he couldn't eat green pasta because it reminded him of vegetables. Like it blows my mind. It honestly blows my mind that he couldn't even eat green pasta that tasted the same as the yellow and the red pasta, but because it was green, he didn't want it. And I got more pasta, so I'm not complaining or anything. But yeah, I remember eating that green pasta. And it's a funny story, and I love telling it, because it just is so interesting how my dad is. So that's the story of Roma. The other place is called Angelo's and Da Vinci's, which is like an Italian place, where my dad would get like pasta with this giant meatball and sausages, and their sausages were so tender. They were so tender and so good. Their pizza was good. And I did go to this place later in college, and that's a whole other story. But I loved it. And then later in the line, I realized they also did this thing called a calzone. And I didn't really know what a calzone was until later, because they had calzones at my junior high's like cafeteria. They were gross, but I liked them because they were like doughy and pizza-y. So I remember that. But they were so huge. Like it's $20 and it would feed me like 6 times. It was actually ginormous, and I loved it. And I still love it. And if I could go back to SoCal, I would probably go there again and eat it, because I love the calzone there. Another food place is this place called El Farolito in Placentia, which is probably my favorite like sit down Mexican place. My mom heard about it from another student at my elementary school's mom, who was also doing the financial aid, and she recommended it, and we've been going ever since. And the other thing about it was near where I would do my eye doctor appointments. So we would go there after my eye doctor appointments, and that was what we would do. So yes, that's another food thing. What else is there really? I don't know. Man, we are just talking about food and all these other things that don't really have a date around. But it was good. I enjoyed my time, that's for sure. What else is there really? I'm just like spitballing everything that comes to mind about my childhood. I remember going to Westminster a lot to get pho and to get yellow noodles, three chu, which is like Cambodian food, and they had this thing called jackwai, another doughy. Theirs was very doughy and bready. I loved it. I love it. I just love bready, doughy things, and it's terrible for like my diet's sake, but I love it. And it was so nice to eat those doughy, bready things, and would dip it in the soup, and it was so good. And I think they were called like Grouchy Guy, but they changed their name to Three Chew Restaurant or whatever. Whatever. That's fine. But then I would get whatchamacallit? I would get Vietnamese dessert, where they had like this. There was this cup that was like this coconut drink, and it would have like these green, red, black, white jellies in it. And it would and it was so sweet, but it was so good. And there was also this like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like this another gelatinous dessert, but it would alternate of like a green color and like a more palish green color. And you could peel off the strips or you could just bite into it. I love that too. What else? Dim sum. There was a dim sum place we went to in like Roland Heights that was really good, and I enjoyed eating that. And we had good memories there. There was this restaurant near our home called Ten Ten, and next to it was this 10 Ren Tea Time, and I love the boba there. I actually went there, I think last year. Like, it's been a while since I went there, and this was like the first time in a while. It was so good. I love going there. It was one of those places where they would give you the cards where every 10 you would get a free drink. I got so many of those cards because I love boba. And then the 1010 restaurant, they would do lunch specials. So I think those times when I didn't go to school because I had like a doctor's appointment or some other reason, we would go there when we get their lunch special, which was like assorted pan-fried noodles. And it was so good. And then the other times we would go there on the weekend, they would do like dim sum, and we would go there for dim sum, and it was okay. I'm not gonna hype up its dim sum too much. I think it was just really convenient for us to go there, and my grandma knew the workers there, so that really helped our cause or whatever. But the assorted pan fried noodles, amazing. The boba shop next door, amazing, and still amazing. And what else? I think that wraps it up pretty nicely. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what else to bring up regarding that food place. I'm just trying to go through my memory of food. There was this place in the area of the pho place that had these things called pate so, which is like this flaky this flaky pastry, and inside was like either chicken or pork meat. So good. They're like $1.25 each nowadays, but they were cheaper in the past, and I love them, and I still love them. If I'm in that area again and I haven't just eaten a full meal, I would grab some. There was an egg roll place as well that my mom used to go to. There was this bao place that would like stuff it so full of stuff, like they would put a whole egg in it. Oh, doughy stuff. I love doughy stuff. Still love doughy stuff. As a kid and as an adult, I love doughy stuff. But the thing was, like, as a kid, especially like my younger years, I was so picky. I was actually so picky. I remember there was this place called Knollwoods, right? And they would have like this kids platter where they would give you a cookie and you order a burger and they give you fries. And my mom and I would go there to have that. But the thing was, I always order my burgers plain, because that's how my dad ordered burgers. He was a plain Jane type of person. I was a plain Jane type of person. I took after him. Not the best thing to take after. I would rather have taken after his more social nature. But that's what I took after. I took after his plain diet. And that is what I took after. But that is just the way I was until, I don't know, I feel like it was like at 9 or 10 I started to break out of my my pickiness when it came to food. Let's see. Pickiness when it came to food. I want to give him this. Okay, and pickiness when it came to food. But I still like ate these like smattering of stuff. Like I remember going to a temple, also near Roland Heights for like Chinese New Year and like more events, and I remember eating these fried bananas, and I loved fried bananas, and they would have these skewers too, and I would love the skewers, and I would always enjoy going there because I would get to eat that food. But then I remember my grandma would make food for the monks because she was a chef and she's good and she cooked for them, and then we would go and eat there with them, and it would be all this vegetarian stuff, and I would just be like, I'm not that hungry. I don't need to eat much. I'm not that hungry. You don't need it. I'm okay. I'm full. And then afterwards, be like, I'm hungry. Please give me skewers and fried banana. Um, but that's what I remember about going to those temples, because it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Um, it was a lot of fun getting to go to those temples and see that side of the culture that I normally would not have seen, for sure. Um, and I remember going to those temples so often, and there's recordings of me going to those temples. Recordings are of me as an older, because I got chunkier as I got older, for sure. So yeah, that was something, and the videos are big proof of that. Um, but I remember going to temples as a kid, and seeing that and eating those types of food. Um, Other things I remember, man, I don't know. Like, I don't really remember much else about my second grade. It's kind of just turned into second grade and the food talk and vacation talk and stuff like that. Um, but yeah. It was good. It was good. It was good times, and I'm very happy with my time in second grade and the trips I've taken and the food I've eaten. So I don't really have much else to talk about with second grade. Third grade, I definitely remember a lot more because it was just more memorable in that sense. Um, I guess I can try and talk about. I don't. Oh my gosh, I don't remember what field trips I went on in second grade, because I know my private school did a lot of field trips. Wait, did I lose him? I'm sorry, I'm just referencing the game right now. I think I lost him. I don't know how I lost him. I was literally following him, but I guess I'll have to do it again. Regardless, I don't really remember much else about second grade or the field trips we did. Um, I think this was second grade. Um, I guess it's just random, but I know a girl did her birthday party. Rich kids, they do fancier birthday parties at this place called Pump It Up. And Pump It Up was so much fun. I enjoyed Pump It Up a ton. And it was a lot of fun. And you just basically, it's like a park made to bounce around. And that was a ton of fun. And I remember going there and I was like, I want to have my birthday party there. I don't think I ever had a birthday party there. Maybe I did, but I really doubt it. And that was cool. And we did that as a birthday thing. And then another thing, going back to kindergarten, there's two other stories about kindergarten that I'm just remembering right now. Was I think my kindergarten teacher, she was doing like it was like a wedding anniversary or something, and we did it at this hotel, which is now called the Fullerton Hotel. And I remember all her students went there and showed up and hid, and we did that together. So we surprised her. It was like this whole thing. It was a ton of fun, and then we ended up going to her house, and we gotta celebrate her house. I don't know. Was she retiring? I don't think she was retiring. Okay, did we do it? Okay, we did. Cool. But yeah, I remember going to her house, and it was a lot of fun because you got to hang out at your teacher's house. Like, it's something that I don't like. I always just thought it was normal because it happened in kindergarten and in third grade. But it was a ton of fun, and I really enjoyed getting to hang out with my friends of school at my teacher's house from kindergarten. And those are like two stories I remember about kindergarten, which was the Fullerton Hotel and everyone being there to celebrate with her, and she was so surprised and it was a cool thing, and then going to her house and doing another celebration there. But yeah, I think that wraps up second grade. there really wasn't much second grade stuff. It was more young memories of traveling and activities outside of school that may or may not have taken place in second grade. But we will call it there, because third grade, I think, is a fun one. There's field trips that I remember at the skate rink, Discovery Science Center, and there's other stuff that took place in school. So I will save it for then. So thank you, everybody who showed up and watched or will watch in the future. And to my future self, I hope you enjoy listening back on these, or get something out of it. Remember something that you may have forgotten, be reminded of something you may have forgotten, help you remember more details about stuff when they're brought up. But yeah, I hope you have a good time. Everybody, have a nice night, a nice day, where else may be. This has been CurleeFriee through the years, second grade, elementary school, quotation marks. And that's it. So bye now.